Okay, let's dive into this really fascinating case, Domasian versus Demdam. It's a story where a pretty simple loan just spirals into this high-stakes legal battle, and it forces the Supreme Court to make a super tough choice between following the rules to the letter and doing what's actually fair. So, it all started right here. 75,000 pesos. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Just a loan between two parties. This was the principal amount, the core of their whole agreement. But boom, this is where things got really serious. With all the interest piled on top, that debt ballooned to almost 500,000 pesos. And just like that, what should have been a simple small claims case turned into a huge legal fight. To really get our heads around this, we're going to break it down into 5 parts. We'll look at the loan itself, then follow the case as it takes a crazy wrong turn in the court system. We'll explain a key legal idea that almost blew the whole thing up, reveal the Supreme Court's really surprising final decision, and then talk about the big picture. What happens when justice and technical rules go head-to-head? All right, let's start at the very beginning, with the basic disagreement that kicked this whole thing off. So here it is, the heart of the problem. A creditor, Manuel Demdam, is trying to get his money back from the Domasian spouses. But pay close attention to that total, 489,000 pesos. That number right there is what sets the stage for all the legal drama that's about to unfold. Now, this is where our story takes a wild detour. Instead of going down a straight path, the case gets all tangled up in this procedural knot. It's a classic example of taking a wrong turn in the legal maze. So, check this out. The case starts in the Regional Trial Court, the RTC. But the court throws it out, saying they don't have jurisdiction, basically the authority to even hear the case, because of that original loan amount. So Demdam appeals to the Court of Appeals. And this move, right here, this was the huge mistake that could have cost him everything. Okay, to really get why that appeal was such a massive blunder, we need to talk about one of the most fundamental ideas in the entire legal world, the difference between a question of law and a question of fact. You know, a question of law is basically asking, did the judge apply the rulebook correctly? It's not about what happened or who said what. It's purely about whether the law itself was interpreted and used the right way. And this chart lays it all out perfectly. A question of fact, what happened, goes to the Court of Appeals. But a pure question of law, how the rules apply, has to go straight to the Supreme Court. The Domasian spouse's argument was simple. The issue of whether the REC had jurisdiction was a pure question of law. So, Demdam filed his appeal in the completely wrong court. So, if you're just looking at the rulebook, the Domasian spouses had a rock-solid argument. The case was in the wrong appellate court. Period. You think it's case closed, right? But what the Supreme Court did next? Well, nobody saw that coming. And here it is, the bombshell. The Supreme Court literally says, you're right, the process was wrong, the Court of Appeals made a mistake even hearing this. But then in the very next breath, they say, we're going to uphold their findings anyway. I mean, what? The big question is, why on earth would they do that? And it all came down to this one simple idea. The court looked at the whole mess and realized that throwing the case out on a technicality would just send everyone back to square one. It would mean more years of delays. So, they chose to prioritize getting a fair and final answer over being perfectly correct on procedure. So what's the big lesson here? What's the takeaway from this entire legal saga? Because this isn't just about one loan, it's really about the philosophy of our entire system of justice. You see, this case shines a huge spotlight on this constant tug of war in the legal world. Yeah, rules are absolutely essential. They keep things orderly, but they're supposed to be tools for fairness, not traps. And in some rare cases, the highest court can say, you know what, we're going to relax the rules this time to stop a massive injustice. The goal isn't just a technical win, it's what they call substantial justice. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. This case gives us one answer, but it's a question that every legal system is always wrestling with. Where exactly do we draw that line between following the rules to the letter and making sure that real, true justice is actually served?